Good morning, everyone. My name is Wei Kai. I'm a research fellow in corporate regulation at RMIT University. Today, I will give a lecture introducing some basic knowledge about corporate directors in Australia. This lecture will be divided into 5 short videos. If you have any questions, you are warmly welcome to send me an email. Companies are the core organizations in modern business and society. Every area of our social life is connected to companies. You may be a shareholder, an employee, a stakeholder, or even a director. You may also have all kinds of transactions with companies. Companies are governed by directors. According to the Australian Corporations Act 2001, the business of a company is to be managed by or under the direction of directors. To ensure the accountability of directors, the law imposes certain legal duties and responsibilities on them. In most cases, if a company has been properly managed, the debts of the company will remain with the company. This is because the company is an independent legal entity. However, in some circumstances, directors may breach the law and therefore become personally liable for the company's debts. They can also be subject to other regulatory action against them, like fines from the Australian Securities and Investments Commission, ASIC. In this year alone, there have been several high-profile cases arising from corporate mismanagement. As a result, the public has been demanding greater accountability from corporate directors. However, we can also see that there is an expectation gap between the public and directors about the roles and responsibilities of directors. The public is claiming that directors should be responsible for misconduct or mismanagement within the company and should resign as a result. However, directors may defend themselves, saying, No, I have fulfilled my reasonable duties. Such an expectation gap reflects different understandings and controversies about directors' duties. The area of directors' powers and duties is one of the most and complex parts of company law. It's very important for you, no matter whether you are a director, a shareholder, an employee, a creditor, or other stakeholders of a company. You are never completely separated from the business and management of corporations. A good understanding of directors and their duties is very useful for your life and career. A director is a person appointed to the position of director or alternate director regardless of the name given to the position. If you are formally appointed as a director following the correct legal procedures, then you are a director, no doubt about that. The Corporations Act provides a very broad definition of directors. Occasionally, some people are managing companies as if they are directors, but they are not formally appointed as directors. However, they can still be regarded as de facto directors or shadow directors. The test for being a director is not based on the title, but is related to the function he or she performs. The core issue to be considered is whether he or she is responsible for managing the company's business activities. De facto directors or shadow directors have the same duties as formally appointed directors. They should act with reasonable care and diligence in the best interest of the company. They should ensure the company is not trading while insolvent. If the de facto or shadow directors are found guilty of mismanagement or misconduct, then they may be personally liable and be required to pay compensation. Why does the legal system establish someone as a de facto director or a shadow director? It's because of the importance of transparency and accountability in corporate governance. Shareholders, creditors, employees, and other stakeholders are entitled to know which people are making decisions for the company, so that they can make fully informed decisions about their investment or relationship with the company. If the company is managed by a notorious person, then we should be very careful before becoming its employee, creditor, or stakeholder. A de facto director is someone who acts in the position of a director, even though he or she has not been appointed to that position. For instance, a person may call himself or herself a consultant, or hold the title of consultant, but he or she may actually be carrying out the responsibilities of a director. In this case, he or she is also likely to be a de facto director. Let me give another example. If a person has not been appointed to the position of director, but is the driving force behind a company's business, then he or she is also likely to be a de facto director. Finally, if a director's term of appointment as a director expires, but he or she continues to manage the company as if he or she is still a director, then it may be established that he or she is a de facto director. How can you determine whether a person has acted as a director? There is no general test. However, there are several factors that can be considered. For example, the size of the company, internal practices and structure of the company, the perception of outsiders. In the case of Gulimodi and Chameleon Mining, the court found a consultant was a de facto director. The court revealed several factors in its consideration. First, there is no single test to determine when a person is a de facto director. It's a question of substance. Second, a person can perform the role of director for a limited time or for a limited purpose. Third, the perception of third parties is significant evidence. And finally, formal engagement as a consultant may make a person a director or officer. It depends on the nature and extent of functions to be performed. If a person is acting under an unconstrained and general consultancy, and if he or she is allowed to take an active part in directing the business of the company, then it may be established that the person is a director. It's not necessary for that person to work on a full-time basis for the company. If directors of a company are accustomed to acting on a person's instructions or wishes, then that person can be considered a shadow director. For example, A creditor may have a significant interest in a debtor company if the creditor exerts a substantial commercial pressure on the debtor company, and if the directors of the debtor company feel they have no other option but to act in accordance with the creditor's instructions, then the creditor is likely to be considered a shadow director. In the case of Buzzer Operation and Apple Computer, the court found that Apple was not a shadow director of Buzzer. The court's decision clarified the following points. In order to establish that a person or entity is a shadow director, there must be a causal connection between the alleged shadow director and the other directors. The alleged shadow director must give an instruction or express a wish, and the other directors must act on such an instruction or wish. The most important question is, who is making the board's decisions? Where is the locus of control? Second, being accustomed to acting requires a pattern of behavior and habitual compliance over a period of time. Third, the shadow director exerts influence over at least a majority of directors. It's not necessary to have influence over all of the directors, because a majority of directors are capable of making decisions for the board. Fourth, the shadow director gives instructions to directors in their capacity of directors, rather than in a managerial capacity. Finally, those giving advice based on their professional capacity are generally excluded from being shadow directors. If someone gives advice to the directors in the process of performing their professional capacities, then he or she is not a shadow director. If someone gives advice to the director in their usual business relationship with the directors, then he or she is not a shadow director either.